Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Author's Excerpt Sunday. I am your host, Sharice Johnson Moore, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Miss Diane Davies. Hello, Miss Davies. How are you doing today? Hello,
Hi.
darling.
Hi, Sharice. I'm just fine. Nice to see you face to face. Nice to see you.
Yes, it is. It is an honor and a privilege to have you with us
Thank
today
you.
on Author's Excerpt Sunday. Today, Miss Davies, I want to give a little background about my guest. So, Miss Diane Davies has a long history of activism as a survivor and advocate for breast cancer patients. In addition to her work as a co-worker, co-leader of the Hastings Breast Cancer Support and co-creator of the Voice of Hope DVD. Her extensive experience as a volunteer for American Cancer Society's Reach to Recovery program has put her in direct contact as a home visitor with breast cancer patients in the first days after diagnosis. Diane Davies is also a wife, mother, grandmother, and gardener, and former first grade teacher, author, former executive director of Circle in the Field, peer support for breast cancer, and Bush Leadership Fellow, 2011 through 2013. She lives in rural Hastings, Minnesota, with her husband, Butch. They are both retired and enjoy spending time with their family at home on the St. Croix River and at their lake home on Rainy Lake in Ontario. You'll find them on their boat called Fiddle Farther Around. Did I pronounce that right?
That's it.
Her daughter and her family live next door, making it handy for watching her two grandchildren.
Absolutely.
Davies, te- Davies teacher training experience, cancer survivorship, and award-winning writer know how combine to give her the expertise to help you gain confidence in talking with your children regarding your breast cancer diagnosis. Don't miss this opportunity to meet the author and allow her through her love and understanding and humor. Yes, she has some humor, y'all. And help you and your children on your own cancer journey. She knows the territory well. Her book is entitled Janie Ann's Grandma Has Breast Cancer by Diane Davies. The book is consistent of you wanna Miss Diane, you wanna fill us in of what your book Janie Ann's grandmother has breast cancer.
Well, yes, I'd love to. Well, Jeannie Ann is a typical 6-year-old. She's biracial. She is in first grade, and she hears little bits and pieces of conversation and hears the word cancer and
Hmm.
becomes it kind of upsets her. Um, this
Hmm.
particular day, she came home from school and her baby brother
Hmm.
was still in his pajamas, which he had been in all day.
Yes.
Mom was
Hmm.
not real happy, like she
Hmm.
usually is. She forgot to give her a hug when she came in the door. She forgot to give
Hmm.
her a snack of all things. So Jeannie Ann just kind of assumed that, something is going on, something's wrong. At dinner
Yes.
time, again, things were different than normal. Um,
Hmm.
Nobody said a whole lot. They just were busy eating their dinner, and mom looked
Hmm.
pretty upset. And the telephone rang, and Mom answered the phone and started crying. And
Mhm.
so Jeannie Ann asked if she could be excused from the table, which she was, and but she hung around the door to the kitchen and kind of listened to the whispers that were going on back and forth
Mhm.
between her parents, and again, heard the word cancer. Um,
Mhm.
so, children, I guess all of us, not just children, but we hear that word cancer and it's frightening.
Mhm.
And if we
Yes.
don't know anything about it, if we, our imagination goes crazy, and kids
Mhm.
especially let their imagination run away with them. So, Jeannie Ann didn't know if who had cancer. Was it her? Was it her baby brother? Was it mom or
Mhm.
dad? Just she was frightened. Um, so when mom came to tuck her in to put her into bed, Jeannie Ann very wisely said, "Mom, what's going on? Who has cancer? Is it me? Am I going to die?
Mhm.
As what's happening?" And so
Mhm.
that begins the story where um,
Yeah.
between Jeannie Ann and her mother and her dad and the grandmother, all kind of lead her through the story of what's happening, and fill her in and
Mhm.
keep her abreast along with them on this journey. And um, as a result, I think it became a much better journey for everybody involved, including Grandma and Jeannie Ann too. So that's kind of the gist of the story. Um, that
Mhm.
it's a hard thing to tell your kids I have cancer, or to say Grandma has
Mhm.
cancer, whatever. So
Yes.
yeah, that's kind of the gist of the story at any rate.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, so what prompted you to write this book?
Well, in 2004, I was, well, actually, my cancer journey started earlier than that. It started in 1970 when my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. Um,
Mhm.
and at that time, the journey was a whole lot different than it is today. She
Yes.
had radiation. There was no chemotherapy for her. She
Mhm.
had radiation that gave her 25 more years of life, um, but it injured her heart at the same time, and she died 25 years later of a
Mhm.
massive heart attack. Um, so then, I come along, and in 2004, I'm diagnosed. I see the same kinds of things happening on my body that my mom talked with me about. And
Mhm.
I started keeping a journal in order to wrap my head around what was happening to me. And
Mhm.
in my journal, I would write step by step what was going on each day. And then I'd also write how I was feeling about that. So
Mhm.
my things that were happening were written in one font, and then my thoughts and feelings were written in italics, so that I could remember the difference between the two. So I
Yes.
kept the journal for the 300 and some days of my journey. And when I
Mhm.
finished it, I finished my journey and was fine, and everything was going well. I showed my journal to my daughter, and my daughter read it, and she said, "Oh, Mom, this is very helpful. This would be certainly something that I think you need to publish." And I
Oh.
wrote it for her so that in
Mhm.
case I wasn't around, with my mother having breast cancer, my own breast
Yeah.
cancer, she certainly is, could possibly have her own cancer journey someday as well.
Yes.
Um, so that's what we did. I went ahead and had the book published, and then 12 years later, I
Yeah.
wrote another book about the lessons that I had learned through my cancer experience. I talk about them in the first book, but in the second book, then I talk about them with a new lens of 12 years of survivorship behind me, which was very helpful. And I discovered that those lessons that I learned in the first place had more meaning for me even after
Mhm.
12 years. Um, So that all passed, and then, I started thinking about the fact that I'm a retired first grade teacher, so I have read thousands of books to hundreds of kids, and I thought, you know, I need to write this in the voice of Jeannie Ann,
Yeah.
and make it a tool that families can use when they have to have that "I have cancer" conversation with their children, and so that's what I did. That's kind of a long answer to that to that question, but it tells you that whole journey up to the point where I did write about Jeannie Ann, and hopefully, it's helpful for parents to be able to take the book, read the story with their child on their lap, or sitting next to them, and then be able to go into a conversation about the fact that yes, one of our family does have breast cancer, and we're going to go through this together as a family, and you're going to be a part of it.
When you first when we first met through an email, I knew that you were special, that
Oh,
you were the kind of author that I would love to have on my show to tell your story, because I have experienced cancer in my family, but we never talked about it. We know it's a forbidden fruit. It's a forbidden topic. And then you don't
yes.
find that a person had cancer till after they passed on, and it's like, for real, you didn't tell me that. Like, really,
Yeah.
like you could have told me that, or And I like the way that that you introduced this character, Jeannie Ann, and she is this look, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about grandma, and we're going to tell you what's going on with grandma, because it's so important that we talk about our health with our children,
Absolutely.
because then they don't get caught off guard with talking about, well, why didn't you tell me you had this was going on with you, or why didn't you tell me this was, and and the thing is, I didn't realize how important that was
Yeah.
till my mother told me that she had cancer.
Yes.
And she didn't tell me until at the very end of her journey. I'll say 3 months. And she explained to me that she had ended up with throat cancer, and
Hmm.
it had metastasized and spread to her spinal and to her brain.
Oh
And
my.
she had already had her vocal cords worked on, and I was
Hmm.
wondering why we was talking and she was sounding funny.
Hmm.
And she told me, yeah, they done took out my some of my larynx and stuff like that. And I was like, well, she's like, well, she told me she had been diagnosed with cancer. But I was like, well, excuse me, but when were you gonna tell me? Like, really? And because when we have these conversations about health, it prepares a person for what's to come.
Absolutely.
It prepares them to know how to deal with their grief if the
Hmm.
person passes. And it also, when you open up about your medical history and tell your children what's going on, you never know. Okay, well, come on, I know I'm going to grandma's house. I got grandma need me. Grandma, grandma has. I got to cook for grandma. I got to clean grandma's house. I got to
Hmm.
go with her to the doctor. You never know how that would affect a person, because if you don't, like, families grow apart and things like that, and you sit down and everybody, you sit down and tell them what's going on, and then you give that person an opportunity to maybe think about changing the way that they have a relationship with the person,
Absolutely.
you know, and it's very important. So, how long have you been doing your volunteer work with other cancer patients?
Well, I started pretty much immediately. You have to, for the American Cancer Society, you have to have a year survivorship under your belt before they'll accept you as a volunteer. Um,
Okay.
and that part of their program has been changed. They no longer ask for um, home visits, but I found the home visits were probably the most beneficial. I
Mm-hmm.
had opportunities where I would go to the door and this woman would answer, and she'd have this scared look on her face, and I could go in and we could talk and we could laugh, and I could share my experiences with her. And I even would unbutton my shirt and I would show her my scars. And
Mm-hmm.
one lady even said to me, could
Mm-hmm.
I could I feel that? Could I touch that and know what that feels like? And I said, absolutely. Uh, Go right ahead, so I would let her do that. And then she said to me, do you think you'd let my husband touch it? I said, whoa, well, let me think about that one. I have not done that. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
not done
right.
that before. But
Yeah.
I
Yes.
said, I guess yes, if you think it would be helpful. Well, of course, he did not come. He did not think that would be very helpful at
Right.
all. I totally understood, and I was glad.
Yes. Yes.
But by
Yeah.
the time by the time
Yeah.
we laughed a little bit and cried a little bit and hugged a little bit, and I left, um,
Mhm.
she didn't have that scared look anymore on her face. And
Okay.
that's my hope too, that with Jeannie Ann's story, that we can take that fear away from a child as well, and
Mhm.
help them deal better with what's ahead. If you don't talk to children about this, the children are very perceptive. They know that something is wrong, and they
Mhm.
right away, just like Jeannie Ann did when there was no snack. Goodness,
Yeah.
I just came home
Yeah.
from school and I didn't get a snack, and my brother's in his
Mhm.
pajamas. That there's
Mhm.
something wrong, because all of a sudden the routine has changed, and a
Yeah.
routine is safe for kids. And
Yes.
if you break that routine, that's
Mhm.
when they become very upset. Um, taking breaking the routine takes the safe out of everything. And
Yes.
children often imagine things
Mhm.
worse than they really are. And so
Yeah.
I think it's important to not let them get that wild imagination going, and have them thinking that things are so much more worse than they really are. And you don't have to give them um, detailed graphic information.
Mhm.
You have
Yeah.
to listen to what they ask and answer
Yeah.
those questions. And I
Okay.
think that's, the big important part is listening to them. Now, when
Mhm.
your mother had breast cancer, or had cancer, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
and you didn't know about it, did
Mhm.
that make you feel left out? Left out of the family and not as a part of things?
Yes, it
Yes,
did
it did.
because
And
be, I felt left out because I don't. How could I say this? I had just buried my father 6 months before my mother passed away,
oh,
and
I'm sorry.
then I buried my father's mother 3 years before my father passed away, and it's like one right behind another. And when
Mhm,
those my grandmother and my father passed, and I was like, wow, like wait a minute, hold up, now me and my mother, even though she didn't raise me, I still felt obligated to her
mhm,
because I had so many thoughts and processes to deal with the first two deaths. And I
mhm.
was like, well, what didn't I do? What could I have changed? And
Sure.
then I started, and then I was like, look, okay, well, do you need me to come? And I asked her when she told me, she said, do you need me to come? Do you want me to come there? You know, because I would like, look, I'll drop everything and come there and take
Mhm.
care of my brother.
Sure.
And and she's like, no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Your sister here with me, your brother here with me. And I was like, okay, all right. And then when I got that call, maybe 3 months later, that was January of 2015. I remember the day. And um I was like, wait a minute, I ain't even get no time. You know, I didn't get no more time with my mom. So,
Mhm.
that affected me a lot, so but
Absolutely.
it is a thing of tell people what's going on. It don't
Mhm.
have to just be about cancer. It could be about you got heart problems or you got
Absolutely.
thin veins or you got diabetes, so you gotta, and doctor want to do this, put a stick in your heart or whatever the case may be. Tell people what's going on because it gives them assurance of, look, I'm getting years, not getting no younger, and time is precious. Time is very precious.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And too, when you're dealing with younger children, there's 4 questions that come up in their mind. And the first
Mhm.
question always
Mhm.
is, did I cause it? Is it my fault that my mom has cancer?
Mhm.
And the second question
Yeah.
is, can I catch it? If I give her a hug or a kiss, am I going to end up with cancer too?
Mhm.
And the third
Yeah.
question is, how can I cure it? How can I get in there and help my mom? And the fourth one, and
Yeah.
I think this is probably the most important one that we need to consider is, who's going to take care of me? So that's a big
Mm.
worry of a child when
Yeah.
there's an illness as significant as a cancer illness in a family, and the
Yes.
child needs to be uh, understanding that all of this is
Mhm.
taken care of, and yes, you're not going to be left out in the out in the driveway. Somebody is going to be here
Yeah.
to help you, and where am I going to sleep when mom's in the hospital, and who's going to cook my meals? And children
Mhm.
are very self-centered and need to have those
Mhm.
questions answered. So it is very important that they understand what's happening
Yes.
there.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Are you ready to read us an excerpt out of your book?
Oh, I would love to do that. Yes, I will get my book. It's right behind me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I would love to read to you. Yes, that's my favorite thing to do is to read. And you know what? I'm going to start at the beginning. I might jump around a little bit, but I'll start at the beginning. Hi, I'm Jeannie Ann, and I have thick curly hair and freckles on my nose. I live in an ordinary home with my ordinary family. I'm in first grade, and I love school. I love lunch, recess, gym class, math, science, and I love books, so I think the library is the greatest. When I get home from school, Mom always gives me a big hug and a snack. After that, I get to play with my baby brother. But one day, Mom's hug is extra tight. She forgets my snack, and I see that my baby brother still has his pajamas on. Something is wrong for sure. The telephone rings, and after Mom answers it, she starts to cry. I wonder if I've done something to make her sad. At dinner that night, Mom and Dad didn't talk much until after I was excused from the table. I think I must have done something really bad for them to act that way. I hang around the kitchen door to see if I can hear what they're whispering about. I hear the word cancer and get really scared. I know that cancer makes people sick, and sometimes they even die. I have to know who has cancer. Is it me? Is it mom or dad or my baby brother? When mom tucks me in later, I ask her if I have cancer. Oh my goodness, no, she says. We were talking about your grandma. She has breast cancer, and I'm sad for her because I know what she will go through, that she will go through a lot in treatment. Did you know that two rounded areas on people's chests are called breasts? I didn't. Women can get breast cancer, mom tells me, and so can men sometimes. Men have breasts too, they're just smaller. She says you can't catch breast cancer like a cold or the flu, and I'm very glad to hear that. Mom and I pray together that Grandma's treatment will go well. I have a lot more questions to ask, but I know Mom and Dad will tell me the answers very soon. They're pretty smart about that. And the story goes on, and the pictures. I wish I could show them to you. They're absolutely fantastic. And
Yes, I
C.A.
see.
Nobens
I see.
is
Isn't
the
it
illustrator.
so?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, I said I like the pictures. The pictures are very nice. I like the pictures in your book.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
They're lovely. And
Mhm,
C.A. Nobens and I talked at length about how I wanted the pictures to be and how I
mhm,
wanted the story to be. And she really caught
mhm,
my idea and helped tremendously. The end papers in the book are
mhm.
lovely too. As you can
Oh,
see,
that's
she has
pretty.
all kinds of good little things in there
Yes,
for
I
kids, even a
see. I see.
prosthesis.
Yes, ma'am. I know, right? You have a
The
good
other
illustrator.
Yeah, very. The other part I wanted to show you and to read to you is the part where they are talking about the prosthesis. And Grandma is so wise. She
Mhm,
is on top of things, and she's able to talk to Jeannie Ann and explain things to her. But in this picture, you can see. Oh, I never can do this right.
I see it. I see
There we
it.
go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Grandma
Yes.
is putting her prosthesis into her bra that she's going to put on,
Uh-huh.
and
Okay.
this is towards the end of the story, and this is how Jeannie Ann describes it.
Mhm,
All that happened way back last year. I'm in second grade now, and my grandma is so much better. Her hair's even grown back, and it's still gray, but it's just curly, just like mine. And you know what? Grandma has two
mhm,
breasts again. When I notice lumps under her shirt,
mhm,
I ask, Grandma, why do you still have two? I thought the doctor removed one. He did, she said, but
mhm,
I got to decide how I wanted to look after my operation. I could have a flat chest on
mhm,
one side, or have a pretend breast
mhm,
put inside my body during surgery, or wear a pretend
mhm,
breast outside my body in my underclothes. I decided to wear
mhm,
a pretend breast in my bra.
mhm,
And then it goes on to as she goes to her support group and all those kinds of things. And then finally, at the very end, she said, these days when I come home from school, mom gives me a sunny smile and a great big hug. She always remembers my snack, and I have even more fun playing with my brother now that he's not a baby anymore. I still have thick curly hair and freckles on my nose. I still love school, lunch, recess, gym class, math, science, and reading. I still live in an ordinary home with my ordinary family, and I know how much I love them and how much they love me. And even more than ever before, I know that love is some pretty powerful stuff. And that's the end of the story.
mhm.
Thank you. And
Oh,
on the last page of the story, I have a list of some resources for people, but I also have a list of 10 suggestions for ways that when a family member is diagnosed with cancer, they can help by talking with their children.
Mm-hmm.
And every single one of those 10 things begins with the word listen, because
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that listening is so very, very important when you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with children. Um, and I'll, if you don't mind, do we have time? I'll just go through these real quickly. Is that okay?
Okay, we have time. You take all the time you need, honey. All the time you want. Go right ahead.
Okay.
Cause
The
all
first
this,
one is,
cause this information is very important.
it
This
is important.
information is very important. Proceed,
Absolutely.
please.
Thank you. So the first one is listen. Good communication helps everyone in the family cope with whatever changes lie ahead. So it doesn't matter if you're 5 or 15 or 25 or 85, you know,
Hmm.
having good communication within your family is really, really important. Number
Yes, it
two,
is.
number two, listen again. Talking with your children honestly and helping them express their emotions will help them feel safe and secure. Number three, there's no age limit for the need to cry. And if that's what frightens you about talking to your family about having a cancer diagnosis, go ahead and cry. Why not? They're going to
Hmm.
cry too. They'll just cry right along with you.
Hmm.
Number four,
Yes.
listen. Sharing information early on will help build trust. Number five, be
Hmm.
sure to ask if they have questions. If you don't know the answers, just assure them that you will find out and get the answers for them. Number six, listen. Consider your child's age and keep in mind there is no need to talk beyond what is asked. And I underline
Hmm.
that. It's very important that you don't give them too much information that's going to scare them. Number seven,
Hmm.
listen. Let your children know that they're feeling what they're feeling is normal and okay. It's all right to be
Hmm.
scared, and it's all right to lean on somebody and ask somebody to give you some help.
Okay.
Number eight, be honest and hopeful. Number
Hmm.
nine, make sure your children know that nothing they did or said caused the cancer. And
Hmm.
number 10, keep your children informed throughout the cancer journey. And I do think that's really important. And I also believe, as you do, that prayer is important, and that um, we need to encourage our children to um, pray to whatever God they believe in, or whatever figure they believe in, and to ask for support and help and healing for their loved one. And by doing that, um, we're teaching them how to support someone through whatever it might be in life, whether it's breast cancer or any kind of difficulty. And I know you feel that way too about it, that it's important to share those things with each other and be a family.
Yes, it is so important. I want to thank you again, Miss Diane, for coming in and sharing your book with us. And I want to say, when you write the next one and the one after that and the one after that, you know, come on back now, you hear? Come on, you know. So you're always welcome. You're always welcome to come on Authors Extra Sunday and share what you're working on next, your events,
Thank
you
you.
let me know about your events and I will, post it and I will, put it out there, make the
Yeah, that's
announcements and things like
wonderful.
that because us as authors, we write the books, but sometimes the next phase after writing the book is the hard part. It's say, come on, let's share. And I want to know about what you're writing about. I want to
Mhm.
know, you know, uh, where you're going. Do you have a book event? Do you have a book signing?
Mhm.
Do you the different activities that you're doing with your book, and like reading to the children at the library or something like that, and I think that's
Mhm.
very important to support authors past, not just at the interview here, but past
Mhm.
the interview, beyond the interview, because we all need exposure when it comes to our books.
Yes, we do.
And
Absolutely.
exposure should be unlimited. So thank you, Miss Diane, so much for coming in. And I want you to let us know where can we find your book.
Well, my books are available at my own website, which is www.dianedavies.com. They're also available at Amazon and Barnes and Noble online. They're
Mhm,
on Goodreads,
mhm.
just about anywhere you can find
Yes,
them,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
especially online, like you said about your books too. So
Yes,
um,
yes, ma'am.
yeah, and my series on life in the neck has become a really fun series for me to do. The first one
Mhm.
is about new friends. It's called Life in the Neck, New Friends, and then the second one is about Squirrel Trouble, Life in the Neck, Squirrel Trouble, and the third one probably is my favorite book of all. It's
Mhm.
Life in the Neck, Advent of Christmas, and my grandchildren are in the story, and they
Okay.
and their animal friends that they've made decide to celebrate Advent the whole month, before Christmas. And so it's kind of a nice little
Okay.
story explaining what Advent is and how we
Mhm.
are, getting ready for the coming of our Lord into the world to
Yes.
save us. So it's just
Yes.
kind of a fun little book, and it's one of my favorite ones. And it's
Okay.
beautiful. The
Okay.
illustrations
Okay.
are gorgeous, so they're
Yes,
worth
ma'am.
taking a look.
Yes,
One of
ma'am.
one of the
Yes, ma'am.
one of the things that I love to do is to read to children. So um, I'm available too for schools. I like to make school visits or church visits or library visits. I'm available for all that kind of stuff and love to do that. So call me.
Okay. Hey, I got you, girl. I got you. Okay. All right. It has been an honor and a privilege, and it has been our honor to have you here on
Thank
Authors Excerpt Sunday. I thank you for coming, and I wish you a blessed evening. Okay, Mrs. Davies.
Yes, thank you so much, Sharice. I've enjoyed myself
You're
too.
welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Have a blessed night.
Thank you. Bye
All right.
now.
You're welcome. Bye bye. All right, everyone. It's been an honor and a privilege to have been in the place to be with my Miss Diane Davies. It has been an honor and a privilege to have her in the place. I want to say thank you to everyone that showed up today for Authors Excerpt Sunday. And if you would like to be a guest on Authors Excerpt Sunday, please do not hesitate to come and get in contact with me. And I am Sharice at ShariceNJohnsonMoore.com, and I will be happy to have you on the show. It is an honor and a privilege to have you here and to have you in the place to be. Come on, authors, tell us what your book is about.